Hey guys, how are you? It's Star Pen. I'm your leaky gut coach and the founder and creator of the DIA Blueprint, where I am here to help you moms to get a hold of your child's juvenile arthritis, uveitis, and really any autoimmune or neurological issue, and just to empower you so that you can start to make the right changes with your child's biology in order to reverse this thing for good. It is possible. So today, what I want to talk to you guys about is probiotics, because everybody knows what probiotics are, and everybody knows that they populate our gut with good beneficial bacteria. And that's something that most of us see as beneficial to do, a good thing to do, especially if we put our child on a round of antibiotics. Maybe we would want to do some probiotics after that or something like that. And a lot of people, one of the first things they do or are advised to do when their child is diagnosed with juvenile arthritis is to start on a probiotic, along with maybe some other anti-inflammatory supplements. So let's talk about that, and let's see just really what the probiotics do, how beneficial they are, and where should we be getting them from. Okay, so as we know, probiotics, they seed or populate the gut with good bacteria. So, of course, that's what we would want. But you may wonder why, or maybe you don't wonder why, but maybe you're wondering why. So, in a nutshell, a lot of the very, very root of what has taken place in our body, in our children's body, is at the very most basic level, an imbalance of bacteria in the gut, making the more pathogenic ones in charge and the more beneficial ones pushed down. And so it makes sense that we would want to put more good bacteria down there. But how do we do that? Really, what is the best way to do that? So there are a ton of commercial probiotics on the market, some more expensive than others, some with a different variety of strains than others, and with the different amounts. And you may wonder, do I just get the most expensive one? This one says it's for kids. This one says 5 billion. This one says 10 billion. What do we do here? So we want to really take the approach, number one, like I always talk about, of we really want to be supporting the body and letting the body do the healing. And a lot of times what we do with supplements and probiotics and different things is we try to send like a bomb down there and we think, boom, like we just want a magic bullet, and that's not your fault. It's not my fault. That's the conditioning that we have, for, almost or about 100 years of, how to use medicine. So it's important to recognize that, yes, the body does need certain strains of bacteria and certain amount of bacteria. And a lot of these commercial products have a variety of strains. And I'm not saying not to use them. We can use a commercial probiotic along with all of the other things that we're doing to reverse our child's JIA. There would be absolutely nothing wrong with that. But we just want to keep in mind that these good bacteria, they're not the ones that are going to go ahead and fight and kill the bad bacteria, if that makes sense. There's other things that we need to do. We need to provide the body other things that are going to reset the balance of the good bacteria and the bad bacteria. And we also want to keep in mind that there's been a lot of damage done in our child's intestinal wall because of the bad bacteria. So we want to be doing things that are going to be reducing the bad bacteria, not just throwing a good bacteria at the problem. That's number one. And then number two, we want to recognize that there's a certain repair that needs to be done inside the intestinal wall in order for this good bacteria to even really have a place to thrive. So, it's like throwing a tomato plant in the middle of a desert. If there's nothing to latch onto, if it doesn't have a water source to keep growing, it's just going to lay there and eventually die. Now, if someone comes along and finds a tomato plant and eats those tomatoes, is that good? Yes, it's good. But we're not really doing anything for the real long term. So they are strains. They can go in the gut. A lot of times people might find that it either helped their child who was constipated, or maybe it even helped with diarrhea. It can do these things, but these are things that, would just be in that flash of a pan kind of a thing as we're putting it down there. Now, we can use a commercial probiotic and seed the gut and heal the gut and do all these other things. But what I really want to talk to you about is a way that we can provide an even more superior bacteria to our child's gut and to our own, and really start to heal the body. We want a multi-pronged answer, don't we? Don't we want one of those solutions that it's like a twofer, or we get multiple benefits just from one thing? So let me talk to you a little bit today about fermented foods, cultured dairy, and things like that, things that we can be making at home that is going to give not just a much more wide variety of probiotics to our children, but it's also going to give a more potent dose. And we want to remember that these things are truly live. What we get inside a commercial product is something that's possibly lab made, not real, whole food, and something that's lying dormant, right? And needs to be brought back. So it's going to be a little weaker. Okay. It's going to be a little weaker in the end. And I always like to throw in there that although, especially the brands that we really love and trust, I really hope that we can believe every single thing on the label. I have certain brands that I love and I trust. But the fact remains is that the supplement industry is not FDA approved, and there is not any kind of monitoring on, the truthfulness of the things that are on the label. But what we do know the truth is nature. And there's definitely things that we can be doing and implementing into our child's body that is going to ultimately not just seed the gut with good bacteria, which we want, but some of these things are actually going to help reverse the actual condition of the gut and make the gut a place where this good bacteria can latch on, find a home, and thrive in there and continue to, really take over and be the dominant force in our children's gut. And if you've been following me for any time, or if you've been doing your own research, then you know that this is of utmost importance. And this really is the root to not just our children's ailments, but many of ours as well. So one of the things that we can do is we start fermenting our vegetables. Now, I don't know if this is something that you're familiar with. And in this video, I'm not going to get into how to ferment your vegetables. And I'm sure I'll have one at another time, but there's going to be tons of content out there for you to give you some tutorials on how to ferment your vegetables. So any kind of vegetable with, believe it or not, it's just salt and water. A lot of people think vinegar is involved, and it is not. But salt and water in a vegetable, sealed tight in a mason jar, left on a counter for a certain amount of time, will produce a fermentation and release tons of microbes and delicious and healthy and vibrant probiotics. When you look at a $50 bottle, 30-day supply of probiotics, and you look at, a handful of pickles, or, a head of cabbage, which is really cheap, and just think of what, just the amount of good, healthy bacteria that you can grow in your own home. That's not just going to be less expensive, but it's also going to be superior to anything that you buy in a store. Again, does that mean you can't use the conventional ones? It kind of helps. No, you can. As a matter of fact, sometimes people put the conventional probiotic, they open it up and put it in their ferment to get it started. So I'm not saying not to take these other ones, but just that taking a commercial probiotic in and of itself is not going to get things going to the extent that we need them to, in conjunction with the other things we're doing to really start to repair the situation in our child's gut. So any vegetable can be fermented. Even your own ketchup in your house or your tomato sauce in your house can be fermented. If with a little bit of forethought, 24 hours or so before you're going to make dinner, if you know what you're going to be making tomorrow, the things that you have in your house, or even the things that you make from scratch, can undergo a fermenting process before you feed it to your family and before you consume it, just really making it that much healthier for us and our children, and helping and promoting all the other work that we're doing to reverse our children's JIA. So there's that. We also have cultured products. Now, this would be dairy products. And I know a lot of you, if you're on a JIA journey, you've probably been told no gluten, no dairy. And in some cases, that is, well, the gluten is always true. And raw dairy, even raw dairy from a farm, would not be suitable for our JIA child. But when we start talking culturing, this is a whole other animal, no pun intended. When we start talking about culturing dairy, it becomes something completely different. For one thing, when we culture our dairy, which is a process very similar to when we ferment veggies, we would use kefir grains or a yogurt starter, something of that nature, in order, a microbe that is going to consume and eat all of the sugars out of the milk, those caseins, the things that cause lactose intolerance and things like that. All these sugars get consumed by this beneficial bacteria that we put in with our dairy product, and it releases, its byproduct is more of itself, more good, healthy, vibrant bacteria. Now, if your child or you are concerned with consuming this, or if you have a true dairy allergy, my suggestion is to do just an at-home little allergy test. You can put on the inside a very sensitive place on your child's arm or your arm, and just rub the finished product a little bit on your skin and see if there's any kind of a reaction. If there's not, it's safe, but I still recommend that you start in very, very small doses. This is if you have any concern, or if your child has ever had an issue with dairy products. This is something you would definitely want to do. And if you just want to be careful, this is something you could definitely do, and just start with very small amounts, and you would be looking for, cramping in the stomach, any kind of rash or hives, maybe constipation where there was none. Any kind of change would be an indication to go ahead and pull back. But one of the wonderful things that we do inside the blueprint is that, because we're healing from such a deep rooted place, if there are any allergies, this is something that we work on, and we actually eliminate allergies. The whole point is not to live like an elimination diet where you can't eat this, can't eat that, can't eat that, stay away from this, stay away from that. The whole point is to get our body back into a state where it's healthy, because allergies in and of themselves are an autoimmune response. It's a sensitivity to something that our body really shouldn't be sensitive to. So we could culture our own probiotics with dairy products, but there's also other things that we can culture. You've probably heard of kombucha. Kombucha is something that nowadays you can buy in the store, and maybe you've heard about how to make it from scratch and having a SCOBY or something like that. Both of those things are perfectly fine. And another thing that I like to do sometimes is I will take even some of my store-bought kombucha and add it to some of my organic store-bought apple juice or pineapple juice or grape juice, whichever ones my kids want that week, and seal that and leave it on the counter. And that you'll grow an entire bottle of kombucha just by using a small amount of kombucha, because again, that good bacteria that's living in that kombucha is going to eat all the sugars out of the juice that you fed it. And when it's ready, because you'll have it sealed tight, the byproduct, as it consumes all these sugars and lets off the good bacteria, it becomes effervescent. It becomes carbonated, but not the same process, right? A more natural process. So that is another really kind of quick or inexpensive or no fuss kind of a way to create your own probiotics at home. And with, one big thing of kombucha, or you can buy a small thing of kombucha, you could probably make a ton of kombucha at home. And then you can always save some of the one that you made. And once you start doing that, you'll never have to buy another kombucha again. So that's a little tip for you. There's such a thing as water kefir, similar idea, similar concept, a little bit like the milk kefir grains, a little bit like the kefir, but it becomes a carbonated probiotic beverage. And then, of course, you can ferment other things like garlic and honey, and these can be medicines in your home. So the list really goes on and on, the things that you can ferment and ways that you can continue to just make this living food just an everyday part of your microbiome, your body, your lifestyle, your whole family's lifestyle. So can you see a difference between living a life where we're popping 2 pills a day and how out of nature that is, and living a life where like almost everything we consume or on the side of with every time we eat, there's something that we're consuming, right? So that's what I want to share with you today. These are lifestyle changes that make a huge, huge difference. And yes, it takes a little planning. It takes a little gathering knowledge and understanding. But once you have that, it's empowering. You're empowered. You're making these things yourself. And then even as you go on and your child's body heals, there's things that we can do even with grains. Even with grains that will make it so that your child can consume these things that you thought that they would never be able to eat again. So I hope this information was beneficial to you. I didn't say it on the front end, but please subscribe to my channel and please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, if you thought it was beneficial. Please share it with your family members or your loved ones and people that you know that are struggling with this horrible, horrible autoimmune disorder. And this way, YouTube can push it out there, and together we can help moms to see and to learn and to know that this is reversible and they can certainly have their life back. All right. Until next time, thank you so much. I'll talk to you again later. Bye.